The first tweet was shared on Monday, August 7th, 2017. Adam starts it like this. So, my apartment is currently haunted by the ghost of a dead child and he's trying to kill me. Threat. Sorry. The left one is from my phone and the right is from the Polaroid. The hallway light was on both times. Why is it pitch black each time with the Polaroid? Oh my gosh, the mason jar on the counter moves. I've been trying to avoid anything weird before my trip. I still feel like this all might stop if I just leave for a couple of weeks. Hey guys, Lene here and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of Dear David. We couldn't get all the way through it last time because it's such a long story and there's so much more than I remember. Like, I don't remember seeing all these photos. So we're here for part 2 because I didn't want to make you guys sit through like an hour-long video listening to me talk for an hour straight. Instead, you can have some of a break between. I'm not going to talk too much on it before we hop right back into the story, but if you haven't seen part 1, stop watching this right now and go to see part 1 first, because this will have huge spoilers on the rest of the story. And it probably won't make a whole lot of sense without watching that part first. So go watch that, then come watch this, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. So here's part 2 of Dear David, and we'll just pick up where I left off from last time. Whatever happens, I just want to thank everyone for their kind thoughts and concerns. This whole ordeal has been very stressful and it means a lot. It makes me feel like I'm not going through this alone. See you in a couple of weeks. And then a couple days later, on Friday, September 29th, he posts this picture of this cute little votive tablet that he bought at a shrine while in Japan. That says, "Please protect my cats while I'm away from home." Aw, that's sweet. Then the next time that he posts is Tuesday, October 3rd, and it's a new thread, and he starts it off with, "This is my last full day in Japan." He goes on to say, "The past couple weeks have been pretty peaceful. I have people taking care of my cats, and they say that they've been doing fine. This morning I went for a long walk around Sapporo. I never really plan my vacations. I just like to wander and see what I can find. I came across a statue in the park. I couldn't find any real information about it online, but it's pretty weird and really pretty." So here's the picture that he posts of the statue. As you can see, it's kind of looks like it's a cylinder. There's like children almost climbing up it, and then a woman in the center holding an infant. He goes on to say, "I was taking pictures of it from different angles since it's cylindrical. I moved around to one side and almost dropped my phone at what I saw. It felt too similar to be a coincidence. I felt dizzy staring at it. This kid with a dented head." So he posts this picture from the other side of this cylindrical statue, and there's a woman holding 2 infants. The one in front of her face is turned, but the one that's sitting in the crease of her arm, as you guys can see, has a dented head. Very similar, if not too similar, to the photos that we've seen of Dear David. Here's the statue, and then here's the first drawing that we ever saw that he posted of what he saw of Dear David. Crazy similar. Yeah, I don't blame him for being terrified. Like, he's like, oh my gosh. He goes on to say, "I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is nothing. It doesn't feel like nothing." And he goes and posts a closer picture of the child with the dented head. His last post of the day says, "Anyway, I have to pack for my flight home in the morning. It'll be good to see my cats again at least." Then the next post is from 2 days later, so after he had his day of travel and now he's back home. The only post that he shares for that day is a picture of him and his cat right here. I'm pretty sure that is Maxwell. And it says, "I made it home safely. The cats are fine, if a little bit more talkative than usual." Then he goes and posts Saturday, October 14th, and he says, "Weird things have been happening with the electricity in my apartment this week." A new thread. "First, 2 bulbs have burnt out in the hallway in less than a week. At this point, I've just left it alone rather than getting a ladder again. But the strangest thing has to do with the black light on my TV." That says backlight, not blacklight. It's an LED strip that plugs into the TV itself via USB. The TV has to be on in order for the backlight to be on. But last night, the backlight was flickering on and off by itself. I noticed it just sometime before dawn when I woke up and went to the kitchen to get some water. I'd barely gotten back into bed when I saw a faint light coming on in the living room. After a few seconds, it went dark again. I went back into the living room and stood there watching the LED go on and off for at least a few minutes. It was bizarre. Eventually it stopped, and now the backlight doesn't work at all. It's only a couple months old, so it shouldn't be dead already. Anyway, I can't get back to sleep, so I went to the diner near my apartment. This was the only thing open at 4 a.m. I had eggs over easy with ham. It was too much ham, but the eggs were pretty good." He posted a picture of his food that he got from the diner. If you like looking at a picture of people's foods, there you go. Big old plate of eggs and ham. Ooh. You're not seeing it. You're going down a little bit more.
Oh no. Oh no.
Then he goes on to say, "When I got back home, the sun was starting to come up, so I figured I might as well shower and go for a walk." I can't talk. When I got home, the sun was starting to come up, so I figured I might as well shower and go into work early. I showered and brushed my teeth, then headed into the bedroom to get dressed. As I passed the front door, I thought I heard a faint scratching sound from the other side. It was so soft I wasn't sure it had really happened. I went over to the door, but I was so scared to look through the peephole. I couldn't bring myself to actually put my face that close to the sound, so I opted to take a photo through the peephole instead. Since there's a skylight just outside my door, the hall was awash with faint yellow-green light. I snapped a couple photos. At first, the photo didn't seem like anything, just blurry nothingness. But as I analyzed it and started to notice things, part of a face, an ear, an eye staring back at me. So he posts this picture here. I don't know if I fully see it. Oh, ow. Oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. That is... Then he goes on to say, I think maybe it's time to get someone else involved. It's obvious that this isn't going to stop until I do something. I'm just not sure what it is yet. I'll let you know when I figure it out. Then he posts, for those who can't make it out. Oh, here we go. Perfect. He posts a video on Twitter where it looks like he's going to kind of map out the Dear David head. Oh, it looks like one of his followers posted this on Twitter, and it's a GIF that kind of draws it out for you. Okay, so he posts again later on October 26, 2017. He says, sorry for the radio silence the past couple of weeks. Thread. First, I had a friend come over to do some cleansing stuff. She did the whole apartment in the hallway. A lot of self-proclaimed professional mediums have reached out, plus a dozen ghost hunter TV shows. I've declined them all because I don't really want strangers in my house I can't freaking say the word. Sensationalizing. There we go. Sensationalizing what's going on. So instead, I had a friend come over and cleanse the place, and for about a week or so, it seemed like it worked. Things seemed to go back to normal. The cats weren't gathering at the door anymore. I stopped having dreams. It was starting to seem like it was over. Then one morning last week, I was walking to work and passed the shuttered warehouse as usual. This time, all the metal doors were wide open, sunlight pouring in. The warehouse was still mostly empty except for one thing. There was a hearse parked near the back wall. And then here's the picture that he posts of the hearse against the back wall. He goes on to say the warehouse had been closed for over 2 months. I have no idea why it was open that day. Nobody was around. It was weird. I try not to think about it. It's not all that strange to see a hearse, I guess. Like, they have to park somewhere. I tried to pull it out of my mind, and the next several days were uneventful. But something else happened last night. It was around 11 or so. I was watching TV on the couch. I went into the dining room to get a drink from the fridge and noticed both the cats sitting by the far window staring at it. The window looks out onto the roof of the business next door. I glanced at the window but didn't see anything. I figured there might be a mouse on the wall or something. I shrugged and grabbed a beer from the fridge. As I walked into the kitchen to get a bottle opener, I noticed something. There's a window in the kitchen which looks out onto the same roof, and someone was standing on the roof staring at me. I immediately ducked down, reached up and flicked off the light switch. I peered over the window but still couldn't see much. My phone was in my pocket, so I grabbed it and took a photo. It was blurry and dark, but I swear someone was standing out there. So this is the next photo that he shares. You can see this is his windowsill. He's got some plants in front of it, and then you can see the rooftop directly beside. I'm not sure if I see anything. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Wait a minute. There might actually be something. Wow. Bless me. Thank me. Right in between, there's 2 pots, and kind of right in between it, there's a person, like you can see like from here up, right above the edge of the windowsill, I think, if that's what he's talking about. He goes on to say, I tried to take a better photo, but the figure had disappeared. I think it was that, because here's the next photo that he posted, and you can see, we put them back to back, but like, bam, here's the one with the figure, and bam, here's the one without the figure. You can see the figure standing kind of right above the flower pots, and here he zooms in on that and focuses on that point there, and there's no figure. The next post said I closed all the blinds and made sure the door was locked, and then drank like 5 more beers until I was too drunk to be scared. The last post from that night is, but now I feel like I'm back at square one. I'm sure it was him. He's not going away. I don't know what to do. The next time he posts is November 6th, which is over a week since he last posted. And he starts a new thread, and it says, it's been about 4 months since the first time I dreamed of Dear David. This might be long, but stick with me. Last night I dreamed about him again. It was almost exactly the same as the first time I saw him. In the dream, I saw him in a chair again. I don't have the green chair in my room anymore. This time it was a recliner I've had for many years. He was staring right at me, just like the first time. Again, I felt paralyzed and I could barely move, but this time something was different. I still felt mostly immobile, but I could squirm just a little bit. I felt more alert. I could move my hands somewhat. David glared at me, and I dreaded what I knew it was coming. He was going to get out of the chair and come toward me like before. I had to do something. I kept my phone right next to me on the bed, and I somehow managed to get a hold of it. I thought thought if David was going to kill me, maybe I could at least get evidence on my phone. I started snapping pictures in the dark. Sure enough, he crawled down off the chair and began shuffling towards me. He moved slowly, like it was a struggle for him. I felt terrified. I kept taking photos. David limped closer toward me, never taking his eyes off me. Soon I was face to face with him. He started muttering something too quiet for me to understand. I watched as his eyes rolled back in his head until they were all white. I tried to writhe away from him, but I could barely move. I stared in horror as he began crawling onto my bed, still murmuring something. And that's when I woke up. Same as before, broad daylight, no trace of David anywhere. It's almost routine now, but it was a dream after all. So I got up and I went to work, and after a while, the stress of the dream melted away. I wasn't even going to write about this since it wasn't really new information, but tonight I noticed something that petrified me. I went into my phone to find a picture from a couple days ago, and I saw dozens of pitch black photos on my camera roll, all from last night. It's better to just show you. Turn up your brightness because it's pretty dark. Oh my gosh, okay, so he posts this picture of a child with a dented head sitting in a recliner staring at him. So if you can't see this, I mean, I'm gonna up the brightness so you guys can see it, but if you still can't see it, make sure whatever device you're watching this on, like, turn up your brightness because it's there. I can see it. Oh my gosh, I got chills again. Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep going, keep scrolling. Oh my gosh, there's more of it moving closer. Okay, so this is the next picture that he posts of David coming down off the chair and moving closer to him. Oh my gosh, it gets closer. Okay, hold on. And here's the picture. You can see this big dent in his head and like black sockets for eyes. And it looks just like the drawing that he drew of David, like the first photo that he put on this thread. He finishes out this night by saying, usually I can come up with some explanation for what's happening, but I have no logical explanation for this. So now I'm sitting here on my couch freaking out. I certainly won't be able to sleep. I just feel like I need to get this out. Then he goes ahead and he posts again on Friday, November 17th. So 11 days after this last post, he starts a new thread and it says, for everyone asking, yes, I'm alive. I've been on the quiet side because there's something I'm trying to investigate and I'm not sure how to yet. I'd rather not tweet unless I have something substantial to share. Then he continues and he says, it's also sort of hard to explain the logics of what I'm trying to find out, but I'll do my best. Basically, there's part of my apartment that I'm just now learning about. At least that's what I think. To refresh your memory, I live in a duplex. I used to live on the first floor and now I live on the second floor. It's a long, boxy building that looks like this, and he draws this little sketch of what his building looks like. So he has my old apartment, my new apartment, the roof that I don't have access to, and then the business next door, and the roof where I think I saw David. Then he goes on to say, the other week I was tweeting the most recent update from the living room couch. About 30 seconds after I'd sent the last post, I heard a thump directly above my head, as if someone above me had dropped something on the floor, which is impossible since I'm in the top apartment. There's also no access to the roof. There aren't any ladders on the outside of the building, and the only way you'd get on the roof is through a skylight in the hallway. There are no trees in the immediate vicinity either. It definitely wasn't pipes either. It was distinctly the sound of something falling on the floor. My building is old and makes lots of noises, but this is a new sound and it startled me. So I'm thinking, is there some secret crawl space in my home? I look over my apartment, but I can't figure it out. So I go into the hallway, and that's when something dawns on me. There's no real way to ease into this, so I'll just say it. There's a mysterious hatch in my hallway. I've always known about it, but I just assume it opened directly to the roof. And he posts a picture of this mysterious hatch, and it looks like this. Ugh. Even the look of that is creepy. Like, I get it, it's probably just old, but that's spooky. Then he goes on to say, it's really high above the stairs, so I always figured it was impossible to access without some sort of fancy professional ladder. I took this video so you can see how high it is. So he takes this video and watch it together. Pictures a video of how high up, yeah, that is, there's no way someone's just like reaching that. Well, I mean, if you had a big ladder from the top of the stairs, you could extend it, but there'd be no way to pull the ladder up through with you. Okay, so he goes on to say, I see that hatch every morning when I leave for work and think nothing of it, but this time something dawned on me. It can't lead to the roof because it's actually below the roof. I'm about to spring some simple math on you, so I apologize in advance. The next picture he shares with us is this picture here. So you can see the hatch down kind of on the left side of the photo, and on the right side of the photo, you can see the skylight. And it says, he wrote on there, it says 3 feet of empty space I can't account for. So it says, first, the skylight is flat with the roof. I checked Google Earth to make sure the hatch is about 3 feet below the hatch, meaning there's about 3 feet of empty space between the two openings. So there's potentially a crawl space between his roof and the roof of the building, but it's only about 3 feet high, which for a child and a ghost is plenty of room. He said, I think maybe the hatch leads to a short ladder going to the roof, but even if that's the case, the hatch is level with all the ceilings in my apartment. That means there's 3 feet of empty space all over my apartment. And then he takes the initial sketch that he showed to kind of map out his apartment, and he showed it with the 3 feet of empty space all the way around there. And then he goes on to say, I was ready to explain this way for a few reasons. One, it might just be some sort of insulated space that all residential buildings have. I'm not an architect, so what do you know? It didn't seem relevant enough at the time, so I decided I wasn't going to mention it here. I should mention though, my sister is actually an architectural technologist. So when she's done doing her thing, I'm gonna pull her in here and get her opinion on that and see if most residential buildings need to have that insulation, which I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just gonna ask her for the skeptic's point of view. He goes on to say, but over the past week and a half, I've been hearing more things above me. A few days after the first sound, I heard a similar thud while I was in the kitchen. Then last night, I heard something small clink on the floor and then roll about 6 feet before stopping. Something is going on here. Maybe it's a raccoon, maybe it's not. I can't get over the fact that the hatches in is such a weird, inaccessible place over the stairs. I need to investigate. I'm just not sure how right now. Then he goes on, I guess I'll try to buy a long pole off Amazon to see if the hatch even moves. I might have to buy a construction ladder. At any rate, that's why I've been MIA for a while. I'll keep you posted while I figure out how to get up there. The last post he says, okay, I bought a pole. If the hatch is movable, I'll either sell out for a ladder or call my landlord to investigate. And then he posts this picture of a 16-foot heavy-duty pole. So pretty much, if that hatch is able to move, he should be able to poke it out of the way with this pole. About 11 days later, after he bought the pole, he starts a new thread, and the first post is, a lot has happened the last week, but I was away for Thanksgiving, so I'm just able to write about it now. The noises from the ceiling haven't let up, but the pole I ordered did arrive before I had to leave for holiday, so I didn't actually get it until later Friday night. I planned to investigate the next morning and went to bed. I barely fallen asleep when I woke up to an incredibly loud crash above me. It sounded like someone had dropped a bowling ball. I bolted right out of bed and immediately felt strange. There is a strange energy all around me. I can't explain it. After about a minute, I heard another crash. I briefly thought about grabbing my shoes and booking it, but that would mean passing under the hatch, and that seemed like a bad idea. So instead, I just listened and waited, though I'm not sure what for. The crash happened again, and then again, probably 15 times in a row, followed by a long silence. Then I heard a smaller creak sound from the hallway. In my mind, I registered it as a footstep, but it really could have been anything. I stayed still, but there were no more sounds after that. I laid back down, still tense and nervous, but I must have fallen back to sleep at some point, because I woke up in the morning and everything seemed normal again. I got dressed and left to get a bagel, same as every Saturday. As I made my way down the stairs, something crunched under my feet. I looked down and noticed a pile of debris on the stairs directly under the hatch. That's what I thought. When I heard, when he said creak, I'm like, what if the hatch opened?
I cannot make a creak sound. That's what we learned to creak there.
So this is the picture that he posts of the stairs, and you can see it's covered in like this black debris, which, I mean, if you remember the picture from the hatch, it looks like there's like a lot of mold on the wood. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like yucky mold and dust and whatever that would have come out of that hatch. He goes on to say it looked like dirt, but I couldn't tell for certain. He actually posted another picture of the hatch here, so you can see that it's kind of like the wood is gross. That definitely would.
If it's a loose gravel roof too, it could be that.
Oh, there we go. Architectural knowledge right there. If it's a loose gravel roof, it could have been that. It looked like dirt, but I couldn't tell for certain. It could have been old plaster or something. I glanced up at the hatch and noticed something else particular. The edge of something was caught in it, barely poking out. It's hard to see it because it's so far up, but I took a photo. So here's a photo that he's talking about. Again, like I said earlier, you can see the gross stuff. You can see like the wood looks gross, but you can also see that there's something kind of poking out. If you remember from the previous photo, that wasn't there before. I was taken kind of at an angle before, but it definitely didn't look like that. He goes on to say, at this point, bagels were the last thing on my mind. I went back upstairs and grabbed the pole. I set my camera on the coat wardrobe at the top of the stairs and hit record, just to make sure it would be caught on video if a demon bursts out of the hatch. Here's a video that he took of him poking the hatch. Me too. He's starting the video right now. There we go. Why is he going so far down to open the hatch? Well, I mean, he did get a 15. That's what he's doing, yeah. You got a 15-foot pole to do.
Slowly rises. Demon!
I'm actually like semi-scared. Okay, that... Something fell out. And he's coming back upstairs.
Just oh.
Just in full, like walking back up the stairs. No, something fell out of the hatch, but that hatch moves super easily. I jumped out of the way and practically fell down the stairs trying to dodge whatever it was that fell. At first I thought it was a dead squirrel, which would honestly explain a lot. It hit the steps and bounced down to the first floor. I went upstairs to get my phone and collapse the pole since it's so long and unwieldy. Then went downstairs to investigate the object that fell. At first I wasn't sure what it was. It was a dingy faded black. I picked it up and then realized what it was. It is a small leather shoe. What? So here's the picture that he posted of the small leather shoe that fell out of the hatch that almost, hit him. So the item that fell out of the hatch that was sticking out that wasn't there before was a small leather shoe. Okay, then he goes on to say, I hustled back upstairs and texted my landlord. I told him I thought there was something in the crawl space and I asked if he could investigate. He said he'd come by it with a ladder and check it out. A few hours later, my landlord was on a ladder shining a flashlight in the crawl space. I stared up at him, half expecting something to grab him and yank him into the darkness. He angled his flashlight all around and finally saying, there's nothing up here. But then he said, oh wait. I watched as he reached into the emptiness with his free arm. When he pulled it back, he had something small and round in his hand. He climbed down the ladder and handed it to me. Again, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. It was smooth and shiny, and at first I thought it was an old piece of candy, but it was cold and too heavy to be candy. After a second, I realized it was a marble. It was so worn that I hadn't registered it as a marble at first. Its shape was sort of weird, with a small lump on the end. So here's the picture of the marble that he found in the crawl space. There's two pictures, so one he's holding his hand, one he's holding between his fingers there. And yeah, you can see that it's pretty worn, pretty scratched, probably like lathered in dust if it was sitting up there. But if you remember earlier, he was talking about hearing a small clank sound and then hearing something rolling for about 6 feet before stopping. That could have been that. I'm sure it was that. But where did it come from? That doesn't answer anything. Then he goes on to say, my landlord seemed unbothered for the most part. Okay, dude. And he told me to call him if I heard anything else. I went inside and headed to my office to see if I could figure anything out about the marble that somehow made its way into my ceiling. I had nothing to go on and in short didn't really learn much, but I did figure out the bump on the marble, I think. Apparently in the early 1900s, they made marbles by hand and cut them with big metal scissors, which would mean the marble is probably really old. Anyway, now I have a decrepit old shoe and a marble sitting on my dresser. I guess this is the new normal. Dude, no.
Bye.
Tuesday, December 12th, he goes on to say, or he starts a new thread and it goes on to say, sorry for the long break. I haven't been feeling great the past couple of weeks and haven't had time to update. There also wasn't much to say for the most part. I wasn't sleeping well and I was having weird dreams, but they were vague and hard to describe. I'm sleepy all day long and I've been getting sudden bouts of dizziness. I choked it. What? Oh, I chalked. Not choked.
I choked it.
I choked it. He says, I chalked it up to always have earbuds cramped in and made a mental note to get my ears checked. I sort of fooled myself into thinking that finding those items in the attic somehow ended all of this. Not that that would make much sense. But last week something started to happen. Late on Wednesday, I woke up with a start and felt something strange, like something had just been watching me. I turned on the light, but I was alone. Still, there was this intangible feeling of badness. Everything felt wrong, sort of like when you have a flu and you wake up during the night and you can't really tell where you are for a minute. It was a feeling I'm used to. I'm always accompanied by David. People tweet at me a lot saying that he might just need help, but I'm certain that's not quite the case. Every time he shows up, I feel a palpable sense of malice. There's what I felt that night. Malice. Dread. But still, I was alone, and I was so tired. I wound up just going back to sleep. I've been so exhausted recently, I can barely function. The next night, the same thing happened. I woke up suddenly feeling like I just missed seeing something, like a candle had just gone out and I could still smell it. I thought about using the pet cam for the living room to monitor my bedroom while I was asleep, but the cord was too short to get the camera high enough to see the entire room, so I improvised. I downloaded an app that takes a photo every 60 seconds and set the phone on top of a bookcase that's about 7 feet tall, so I had a pretty good view of my bed and the surrounding room. Then I went to sleep. Just like before, I jolted awake hours later feeling the same unease. I turned the light on and hurried out of the bed to get my phone from the bookcase. There are probably 350 photos to scroll through. The vast majority of them are me sleeping in an empty room. It's sort of dark, but you can see me sleeping. I'd left a couple lights on just in case anything showed up, but for the first 100 or so photos, it was just me in an empty room. And then he goes and posts the picture of the empty room. So this is what his empty room looks like. You can see he's kind of like the photos to his back, and he's sleeping on his bed right there. Then suddenly he was was there, standing on the chair at the foot of my bed, staring at me. So here's the next photo that it captured of David standing on this chair, straight up just looking at Adam while he sleeps. Then he goes on and he says, in the next photo, from a minute later, he seems to be staring straight up at the ceiling, just staring. Because he's kind of opened his arms up, like kind of wider, like they're out to his side a bit more. Oh, I hate it. If I like woke up and there's someone at the foot of my bed, I would be out so fast. So fast. Then he goes on. Whoa! Hate that. Wait, is that a... Oh, I hate that. Oh, I hate that. Okay, so the next thing is like, then he appears to collapse on the chair. The next dozen photos are all the same. He's completely lifeless. At first, I thought he was dead, which obviously doesn't make sense. I looked over the chair, half expecting him to still be there, but it was empty. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's the photo of him like full on collapsed on the edge of the chair. It looks like he's a stuffy. Like it straight up looks like he's a stuffy.
Like my magic.
Dies. Yay! Then he goes on to say, but then in the next photo, he's gone. The room is totally empty again. He's gone in the next several photos too. I figured maybe that was it, but I kept scrolling through the photos. About 15 photos later, he was back standing next to the bed. It was just like the last time I saw him. I don't see him. Hold on. But this is the photo here that he posted saying that David is standing next. Oh, he's like, oh shoot. Yeah, no, there he is. There he is. Okay, so like right above his shoulder, kind of like right above his shoulder where his arm is, like in this portion of his arm, that's where David is. Just like past the mattress. He says, that's when my heart started to race. I didn't want to look at the rest of the photos, but I knew I had to. I swiped to the next photo and my heart sank into my stomach. He was on the bed inches from me, staring at me, sleeping. Oh my gosh, I'm covered in chills. Holy freaking crap. There's a photo of David standing above Adam, staring down at him. Holy crap. Okay, so then he keeps going. It says the next one was worse. The next photo, he's staring right at the camera. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here it is. He's turned at the camera and he's looking at it. He knows he's being recorded. So I think he wants Adam to see this, which is horrifying. After that, there's seemingly nothing. He disappears again, and the rest of the scroll is just me alone in my room again. That's it until the last photo. Oh my gosh, okay, so I haven't scrolled all the way to see it, but like I can already, like I scrolled down a little bit so I could see like a little bit of the photo, and I could just see hair. So I know that David's right in front of the camera, and here's the photo. If you're not scared, I haven't even looked at it yet. I don't even want to, I just, oh my gosh. Okay, so you can see a little blonde head with like a gnawed ear and like scraggly kind of hair that, He stands beside Adam. He's on top of the bed looking at Adam. He looks up, sees the camera, and then he goes right up to the camera. And you can only see like a small portion of his head, but like still, I'm out for the count. So I mean, okay, we're keeping going. Okay. So it says, I'm at a loss for words. The malformed ear, that stringy hair. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. The malformed ear, that stringy hair. I didn't even know what to think. I looked all over my room, but I couldn't find anything. And honestly, I've been so exhausted, I don't know how to process it. Even now, all I want to do is to go to sleep. Then he says December 20th, 2017. Hey everyone, I'll be gone for the next week visiting my family back in Montana for the week, for the holidays. It'll be nice to get away from all of this for a bit. Thanks for everyone's kind words lately. I'll see you when I get back. Then he comes back January 2nd. So I've been away from the city for a couple weeks. New thread. I went home from Montana for the holidays, and almost immediately I started to feel better. Less tired, less foggy, up until now. I haven't really entertained the thought of moving, thinking that David would probably just follow me wherever I go. But when I left for Montana, everything seemed to improve. Like maybe David wouldn't follow me after all. Maybe he was tied to the house, not me. Being home felt safer, and I managed to relax a bit. I even started browsing listings for new apartments back in New York. The last thing I want to do is move in the middle of winter, but after the past few months, it seemed like it might be worth it. It felt like there might be a way out. But after a few days, I started to feel strange again. One night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and as I stood there in the dark, I couldn't help feeling like there was something moving outside the bathroom window. The bathroom looks out into the backyard, and it was pitch black. I could barely see anything. But it's Montana, and there are animals passing through all the time. Sure enough, in the morning, I found animal tracks through the snow. I don't know the specific animal, deer, elk, whatever. So he posts this picture of snow, and you can see like animal tracks through the snow. Which I mean, I live in Canada, which means it snows a lot, and you can always see like, you can pretty much always see animal tracks in the snow, because I mean, like, we've had deer on our front lawn before. Like, I'll just be sitting in, like, out on the front lawn, and then there's just a deer, like, by my tree, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, like, we see them all the time, so, like, that's not unheard of. That doesn't surprise me at all. But then he goes on to say, the next night, the same thing happened. I got up in the middle of the night, and I thought I saw movement in the blackness outside. This time, I stood at the window and gazed out, straining my eyes to see, waiting for them to adjust the night. For a long time, I stared out into the snowy darkness, but couldn't see any movement. Then, just as I was about to turn away, I saw something lurch off to the right and disappear from view. Again, it was too dark to make out the animal, but it could have been anything. Maybe a coyote or something. In the morning, as I was getting out of the shower, I glanced out the window and noticed tracks behind the garage. So here's the picture of the tracks. I'm guessing this is like the garage is on the left-hand side of the photo, and you can see footprints kind of wrapping around, leading behind it. Then he goes on to say, I couldn't tell what they were from the bathroom, so I got dressed, put on a coat, and went outside. When I got up close, my heart practically stopped. They weren't tracks, they were footprints. Really small footprints. So this is the photo that he shows of the small footprints. And like, looking at those, they definitely don't look like animal tracks. I mean, I don't know much about animal tracks, so please someone correct me if I'm incorrect, but they look like they're flat. They look like they're like a baby shoe pushed into the snow. Whereas like an animal track would be like, if you, like a hoof would have like the two separate portions of the hoof plus a little like heel part like popped in the snow, and you would see that like distinctly. Like, I know I see animal tracks like that all the time. That's not what animal tracks look like, at least the ones around here in Canada, so I don't know. But then he goes on to say, I followed them across the yard, but they disappeared into the ditch about back. I stood there in the snow, not knowing what to do. What could I do? Call the cops and tell them I found footprints in the snow? The last couple nights, I was too scared to leave my room. If it had been David out there in the snow, it meant that he could be following me anywhere. No matter where I moved, he could find me. I felt helpless. I flew back to New York the day after Christmas. Back in my apartment, it seemed like I was at square one yet again. I've tried everything I could think of. I staged my apartment, I hired a medium, nothing has worked. And worse, I still feel him at night, watching me from different corners of the room, also getting closer and waking up right before something happens. For the last few nights, I've been using that app that takes photos every couple of minutes, but nothing has showed up. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to work anymore, but I've left it running just in case. It's picked up absolutely nothing, save for one thing from last night. Last night was particularly bad. I felt sick and I had nightmares all night. I dreamed that David was hovering in the corner by the ceiling, far off the ground. He was mouthing something, but I couldn't hear any words. Then he was hovering above my bed, staring down at me. His mouth moved faster than it should have. I couldn't move. I could only look up at him. Suddenly, he plummeted downward, and I felt this huge pressure crash onto my chest. I woke up gasping, and the wind completely knocked out of me. I sat up and looked around frantically, heaving for air, but there was nothing. When I caught my breath, I retrieved my phone from the dresser, and the photo roll showed nothing to note of, save for the last photo taken just a minute before. Okay, so the photo, oh, I hate it. The photo taken before was David on top of Adam. It looks like he's kind of like crawling on him, or he's just like bearing down on him. I'm not entirely sure, but like, I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss here. I just don't know. He goes on to say, sorry for the long delay. Honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to tweet again. This is a new thread. And he goes on to say, after what happened a couple weeks ago, everything stopped. Well, sort of. I wasn't having dreams anymore, and I was feeling better, and I was sleeping through the night. Actually, I was feeling great. I still do, but things have been sort of weird too. It's hard to explain. I'll try, but I don't know if any of it will make sense. Basically, as good as things have been for the past couple weeks, I can't shake the feeling that something is off. Like, I've been sleeping fine and I have lots of energy during the day, but sometimes I seem to sort of lose time, I guess. Like, I'll look up at the clock and realize a whole hour has gone by and I don't remember any of it. Or I'll mishear someone and ask them to repeat what they said, and they'll say that they didn't say anything. Like, stuff like that. But after what I've been going through, it's not a big deal. Despite all that, I felt ready to put it all behind me. So on Sunday, I opened up Twitter intending to update you all that it was over, or at least I thought so. I just wanted things to go back to the way they were, and it seemed like they had. I was writing something to the effect when I noticed I had way more notifications than usual. I swiped to my mentions and saw that everyone was tweeting to me about something I'd posted on Instagram, on the Instagram story the day before, since they saw something weird. The stories were expired now, but I have screenshots and I don't know how to explain it. Long story short, I went to brunch on Sunday with a friend. I posted a few photos on my story and they were fairly unremarkable. Here's the first two I posted, totally dumb and normal. So he has a picture of his meal, and then he has pictures of him and his friend together. So nothing out of the ordinary. That doesn't seem atypical to me. Then he goes on to say, they're totally boring brunch photos. I posted one more photo of me and my friend before leaving, and that was that. But the next day I had a zillion messages about the third photo I posted. People had taken screenshots and sent them to me. This is what somehow got posted on my Instagram story. Oh my, this is what got posted to his Instagram story. I guess he had like little to no knowledge of it, and it's like, I'm like, it's so warped. And if is it just me, or do you see a warped and dragged face over top of Adam's on his left-hand side of his face? Oh my gosh. Okay, so he keeps going on. He says, I have no clue what happened. It looked perfectly fine on my phone when I uploaded it. I'd say it was just a glitch, but I can't make sense of what's happening with my face. Okay, yeah, he does notice it. Good. Maybe I can. I know what it looks like, what it probably is, but I don't know if I care anymore. I really just want things to be normal again, and things feel kind of normal right now. I don't know. I guess I'll keep you updated if anything else happens. And that's the last thing he posted for that day. Then he goes on to the next day, January 29th, 2018, which is like 12 days, almost 2 weeks past that last tweet. And he posts a video. No context, just the video. So we're gonna give that video a watch. Okay, so it's just a cat meowing obsessively. The next post, a couple days later, February 3rd, 2018, says everything is fine. Only thing he posts that day. Just under 2 weeks later, on February 14th, so Valentine's Day, he says, please don't worry about me. I'm okay and everything will be like it was before. Then he posts a video on the same day, again, of his cat in the door. In all fairness, my cat does that when he wants to get out. But if they're apartment cats, I mean, they're probably used to not being let out. It's the same from before, just the cat meowing at the door the entire time. Nothing interesting happens. Something I didn't forget to mention for this video and the one that I just showed, they're both posted at 2 a.m. But she was saying before that like there was like weird things happening at 2 a.m. I wonder if he's maybe like taking comfort in the fact that things have like gone back to normal and it's like less of the dream stuff and more of the cats just meowing at the door. But either way. And then the final tweet, we have made it. The final tweet of this story series was made on March 12th, 2018. So nearly a month after this last post. And he said, for everyone asking if I'm alive, I'm doing okay. It's been pretty quiet around here lately and I've been trying to focus on work. Of course, I'll keep you updated if anything strange happens, but for now, I'm staying busy with drawing and other projects. So that is the last story, the last tweet of the entire story. As you guys can see, this Dear David is a very scary story. Is it real? Is it fake? I don't know. What do you guys think? But there's not much more I can really say about Dear David that you guys haven't already seen. So if you have anything you want to add, if you have any thoughts about the story or anything that maybe I missed, please put it down in the comments down below. If you have any other stories that you guys want me to read or do a review on, put that in the comments down below as well. Have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.